welcome to Disney Plus. Now showing Unearthed ARTcana. Subclasses, Part 3.
I don't think they will.
This is our pitch that Disney... This particular episode, I'm pitching the show. I'm selling it to Disney. This is my...
Hey, I didn't know about this.
Oh, no.
Look,
They have their own media people.
Yeah,
We should get our people to talk to their people and say, go on, Neil.
Neil,
Go pitch this.
I've got to think about feeding my children sometime in the future, and,
But there are children.
Well, there are... Yeah, I know, but, hey, maybe they won't pick it up. I think this episode is going to be really good, though, so I think Disney's going to buy it.
Right, it is Iron Man after all.
It is. Do we want to introduce ourselves this time?
Oh, I don't know.
If you want it to be good, I mean...
I think Disney are going to give us new names,
Oh, no.
to be honest, and redo our characters and stuff, so I wouldn't worry too much about
Can I be
that.
Sam the Sasquatch?
I'm Nicky Noose.
I'm just there for now. Hopefully they'll think of something more interesting, though.
There's another subclass set, and it's alright, these ones. They're better than the last ones, not as good as the first ones. That's pretty much
and I was surprised, because we're doing the Artificer today, and I was just surprised that they did a subclass for Artificer, because that came out, I think, in the Eberron book, right? That's the class officially.
Sounds right.
It's been in playtest for years, probably a couple of years now.
That's actually true, yeah. I think the idea of an armourer, power armor guy, was kind of in some of the earlier versions of the Artificer. I remember there was something about having a magic armor.
I think there was a wizard
thing.
with the Meccano.
Yeah,
it's
it's something that they've been thinking about for a while. And I'm going to explain briefly what I'm drawing, because it will require some explanation.
Alright.
When I was first going to do a drawing of the Artificer armorer, I was thinking, because Eberron is very steampunk.
Yes.
And that's all good. I was going to try and draw an Artificer that would fit in a non-high-tech setting. Huh. And then I had a different idea, and I think it would still work in a non-steampunk setting, but it would also still work in Eberron kind of thing, which is one of my favourite Unearthed ARTcanas from a long, long time ago is the Gothic Heroes one, which adds the Revenant sub-race, which is just an undead version of a race, essentially.
And Monster Hunter and stuff like that.
And Monster and stuff like that, yeah. So it's a classic Unearthed ARTcana. I highly recommend checking out. One of the Artificer's armor things we'll get to when we get to it is a version of the armor which is like a body-fitting underclothing one. And there's also a line in there that if you have missing limbs and malfunctioning bits of your body, then the armor makes up for them. So then I thought, wouldn't it be neat to have almost like a life support armor thing? So I'm drawing a skeleton that's wearing a suit, and then I spent ages yesterday, which will be sometime before this video comes out. I spent ages yesterday trying to draw it, probably about 4 hours attempting over and over again to do it, and I hated it. I think I came up with 2 complete ones, which I will not be showing because I do not like them. And then I thought, I'm gonna do Renaissance era biological drawing of this subclass. So that's what we're getting. Okay, that is the pitch for what is happening on the screen.
Okay, I get it.
And this took ages because I used a 1 pixel wide brush for most of it. So there's going to be a lot of zoomed in. Anyhow, that's the pitch.
I love that idea a lot. That screams out to me like a very good villain.
Yeah, I will say it's not the most. It's a difficult one to be heroic with. I suppose you could probably figure out a way, but it's certainly an unorthodox one. And if you were to play something like what I'm drawing, you definitely want to make sure that the rest of your party is matching your energy vis-a-vis being over the top. Because if you're the one guy who's the living skeleton in a robot suit in a party of human
the other
fighters,
guys, feel the fighter. Yeah,
you might just be oof, it might be a bit weird. Anyway, so Artificer, it's the armorer version of it at 3rd level. So again, this is when you pick at 3rd level, which I feel is weird for Artificer because the subclasses for it are really distinct in terms of what you're doing with your creation of magic stuff. like the difference between being a guy who makes a big robot animal and the guy who makes potions, I think that's very broad. So choosing it at third feels, well, again, you often start at third, or you get to third very quickly, so it's not too much of an issue. And if you have an idea of what you're going to go into.
Yeah, I think starting at first level with any of those things though is too much for the game.
Yeah,
right.
Because this class is very loaded at third level.
There's a lot of third level things.
Oh my god! The majority of this class, like half of, I think
there's over a page of third level text for this.
So we're not going to read it all word for word, obviously, but yeah. The first thing they list, you get proficiency with heavy armor. That makes sense.
Excellent. Yep.
Nothing wrong with that.
Mm.
And you get proficiency with an artisan's tool of your choice, which I assume they want you to be taking something like blacksmith tools. That would be the logical thing, but you could take brewers. Yep. Why not? I
think it says smith's tools.
Oh no, you get that, but then you get another one if you don't have smith already. That's right. Sorry,
yeah.
It's you get smith's tool proficiency, and then you can get another one if you already have that. That's if you screwed up your low level choices, or if you chose smith's tools at the beginning, knowing that you would go into this as your subclass. Yeah.
Or you didn't think about this one until now. You can be like, then if I'm making armor, I should have smith's tools, so this thing gives me smith's tools.
Sure, yeah.
And then domain spells. Do the other artificers have domain spells?
If they do,
I haven't read the finalized version.
Yeah.
The last time we played Artificers when I played it, and that was like the beta one that was not amazing.
Under the assumption that they do get specific spells for classes, these ones are magic missile, shield. Sure, shield makes sense. I think magic missile is again, if you want to be doing your Iron Man-y shooting hand beams, makes sense. I don't mirror image. Is that the one where you
have duplicates that share your same spot? I believe.
Now that one's a little bit weirder as a choice. Yeah, but again, it's one of those things that you can, especially because the artificer really wants you to have different ways of describing spells to maybe the more traditional ones because you're using items or potions or whatever for most of it. So I guess the mirror image is one that you could describe as a shield. And also there is one of the later ones is like an infiltrator quote unquote thing. So maybe it's like a spy sneaky thing in some way. Anyway, shatter, sure, it's a cool attack spell that if you wanted to be Iron Man, yeah, I guess.
I just checked. They do have domain spells.
Okay, cool. Right. I would say that these spell choices, some of them are fine, and a couple of them are just okay, it's a bit odd, but sure.
No, they're all raise or ability on yourself, so it's Iron Man. It's abilities. You can reimagine. There's nothing weird on here like a divination spell or something.
Yeah, exactly. There's nothing too out of the wall, and it's a good balance between offensive and defensive per level you're getting them on you. It's apart from one of them, it's usually a defensive spell and an attacking spell. So that's kind of cool.
That's true. And as well, I guess the actual spell list of the base Artificer I know isn't super extensive. No. So I guess getting some of these, what seem to be kind of basic spells, but actually having access to them as Artificer might be quite useful. So that's fine.
And you have these permanently prepared because they're domains, so it's good. And then we come on to the armor itself.
Yeah, so this is the main thing of your class is power armor. And I don't super love that it just straight up is calling it power armor because
I agree.
That's too much Fallout, I guess, maybe in my mind. But it's not an actual technical issue. It's just when I read power armor, I kind of went, huh?
Put the word suit and it'll be fine, probably.
Yeah, you can turn a suit of heavy armor, so specifically heavy armor. Okay, I didn't actually remember that. So that's interesting. You can turn it into power armor if you have your smith's tools in hand. So that's okay. Does it say how long this takes? Yeah, as an action. Okay, right.
Bolted onto me.
Yeah, it's I think that's something that'll almost never come up. So it doesn't really matter how you roleplay it making sense, but it feels to me slightly odd that that's the way it works. It's not something that you make over time. It's something that you just touch a suit of plate and then pew, it's suddenly power armor that you. Anyway, I think that's purely just a for simplicity's sake, it does seem a bit odd. But
I think that rule right there, the action to don doff it, just to not dwell on it too long, is so that you have the Iron Man moment where you get ambushed and you're not in your armor.
Yeah,
and you have to spend a moment to get it on without having to use the don and doff it rules, where it would take you 10 minutes.
Yeah, I think heavy armor is like 10 minutes to put on it, which is a lot. It no longer has strength requirements. That makes sense. Good stuff. Also, artificers are not like a hitting class primarily, so you might not
generally not dumping it into strength.
Exactly. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You can use your armor as a spellcasting focus, which is cool. I like that that's in there as a line because that's something that could have been left out. And I feel a lot of these new subclasses have gone a lot more in detail with like casting focus, like things that make your focus unique, which is cool. So having your armor be that is fun. Oh yeah, and so your armor is attached to you and cannot be removed against your will. How does that like gel with heat metal and stuff?
Yeah, terribly is how.
I guess you have. I guess you choose to remove it if you're. But then it takes 10 minutes to take off or whatever. This was a line which I was looking at for the design. It covers your entire body, so like it replaces missing limbs functioning identically to a body part is replacing. So this is again, Eberron has a couple like prosthetic limbs. That's the word. Like magic items in it, and this is just like so this fits in like fine with that universe. But in like if you were to be playing this in a lower fantasy setting and had like good reason to be doing so, that could be very handy and cool, especially if you're playing like a game that does have the DM wants to be using like a wound table, and you might end up getting bits chopped off.
Yeah.
So that could be very fun.
And I'm saying reskin this entire class to be druidic in nature, and you have like a wooden arm.
Yeah, a tree bark man. Yeah.
When I was thinking of like a way to do it, I was originally thinking like maybe you could have like a big stone suit of armor that you could like stand in. Like that could be cool. I think there are ways that you could make this suitably like fantasy, maybe not low fantasy, but not like technological fantasy without it being like a big issue.
Or even just have it externally look like plate.
That was the other option I was going with. Like maybe I'll just draw a suit of plate, but that wouldn't be very interesting to look at.
And then underneath it's this complex thing nobody can really understand.
Yeah.
Nanomachine, son.
Yeah.
Maybe you're a gnome in a full plate suit.
Oh, you're Men in Black.
Oh yeah. Right.
I like the idea. There's like an imposing figure in some suit of armor. It's a gnome.
Exactly.
Love it.
It's okay. And the last thing, I think, the last thing you get at your third level is you can have the armor can be in two different modes. You can be in Guardian mode or Infiltrator mode. So Guardian mode, you get a punch that does thunder damage, and I liked this line because I think in some of the Unearthed, some of the class stuff in general, sometimes things will have an effect and it won't explain why, and sometimes it's not clear. Like for example, with the lycanthrope barbarian, there was like your attacks do psychic damage. It's like why? And you can figure out something, but it was just like okay, sure. But so this has a thing where you hit a guy with your thunder damage punch, and then they have disadvantage on attack rolls other than new targets. And they explain that's because you're distracting them with like a loud noise. It's like, okay, sure. Simple little line that doesn't like restrict what you're doing with the killing, but does explain the concept behind the move. And it still uses like natural language, and it's not being really like game. So I really like that. I don't think that's been in that previous Unearthed Arcana. Not that I can think of. So I'm happy to see that.
Not explicitly in an ability, I don't think.
It emits a distracting pulse when the creature attacks someone else. It's reminding me of the button on Darth Vader's chest that beeps to annoy him.
Keeps him alive. I mean, keeps him awake.
Keeps him awake at night.
Yeah. Sometimes he stops breathing. Anyway.
Jesus.
Again, this would be a cool way to play Darth
Vader.
Human Reverend and Artificer. It could be cool.
Yeah.
And then a multi-class to the Wizard Mystic. That could actually be pretty good. Because they're both in. Anyway, I'm not sure how the spell stuff would work. But...
So this guy is... you've got a spellcasting focus as your armor. But anyway.
It's true.
The first one, the Guardian, is the get stuck in.
And you get temporary hit points as well. You use a bonus action, you get temporary hit points
every round,
which is
bonus,
which is good. Because when I was looking at this, I was thinking, it would be cool to have something that's basically damage reduction, because damage reduction's in the game, but it's like so rare. Yeah. And I was like, it's not in there. And then I thought, well, it basically is, because getting temporary hit points every turn is basically choosing
better
to
than
have
damage reduction. Because damage reduction is only specific types of damage.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's good. Good stuff. It's pretty basic, but that's cool. I have nothing against any of that. The Infiltrator is the one that I'm drawing, or was drawing. I'm not drawing now. Spoiler. I'm not this fast. I wish. This armor is like it's form fitting for one thing. It's weight is negligible, which I think is, again, weight's not something that comes up a lot in actual play of D&D, but like there'll be one time when it does, and when you're wearing your light armor, then you'll be happy. And it explicitly says that you can wear it under clothes, which is pretty cool, because you could be like you could appear to be completely unarmed and unarmored.
It comes to that, party goes to infiltrates the ball situation. You've got you've got your super suit ready.
I like this one a lot. I thought I would prefer the first one, but I prefer this one just because of the idea, like the nano suit.
Yeah. It also has walking speed increased, which is always fun. Like being faster is just...
It's just nice. It's nice. You don't realise it until you play classes where you can be faster.
And like if you're playing like a dwarf for 25 foot, when you're first making that class, you're like, it'll be okay having only 25 feet.
Then you get knocked down.
You get knocked down,
and then you have to spend most of your movement getting up, and you have 10 feet left. It's like,
please no. So yeah, that's a nice little bonus. But they do have Iron Man laser hands / chest as well.
Yes.
A gem-like node appears on one of your armored fists or on the chest, and now this bit's weird. Basically, it's a range attack. It's got 90 to 300 feet. Is that longbow regular? I think it might be slightly longer, right? I think longbow's 80.
I think it's a bit longer, but I don't know.
It's.
I think longbow's like 150.
Yeah, I think the long range is longer on this. Anyways. Yeah. And it deals 1d6 lightning damage, which is not loads. But then it also has this line, once on each of your turns, when you hit a creature with it, you can deal an extra 1d6 lightning, but only once. So basically, it's a range attack that does 2d6 lightning, but only once. And then it does 1d6. And when I saw that, I was like, why is that the way that works? And then I saw, it's because at 5th they get extra attack.
That's exactly...
And they don't want you to have a ranged greatsword, but they don't mind you... It's really odd. It's not, like, bad, it's just odd.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't think it would have been, like, super... I would have made it just slightly weaker and not change... Anyway.
I think it's already pretty weak for a D6.
Yeah.
Because it's 3d6 for 2 attacks that both have to hit.
Yeah, that's the thing, yeah. I just think it's just like, a bit more micromanaging to think, like, I can do that.
And I can do it again but once, but when do I do it?
Like, maybe if that was a bonus action and it was better, if you know what I mean, because that maybe then that would be something that would make more sense to me. But anyway, it is just a thing where they don't want you to do 2d6 twice at range in one turn.
And I guess strictly as it's written, I guess you can also do that d6 on a punch, because it says when you just hit with the gem and you can have it on your fist.
I guess so. I wouldn't rule against that.
I guess that's also could be an interpretation of that as well.
Yeah, but it's cool to have an elemental damage type. And again, the thunder on the punch for the guardian one, and this one has a lightning thing, so that's cool. And I think for changing, because you can change you don't have to choose this, and then you're stuck with it forever. You have 2
short
modes
rest.
of your armor thing. It's a short rest, is it?
Yeah, so it's very, very, very easy to change this suit of heavy plate into
So again, it's gonna magically reform, and I would have, if I had all the time on Earth, drawn the second version of this thing that I'm drawing that can't be worn under clothes. But I hadn't figured out what this would be. Originally, when I was designing this, it looked basically like Necron fan art. And if I was imagining the Guardian mode would have the massive shoulders that the Necrons have and stuff like that.
Yeah, like the Tomb Priests and stuff. Yeah.
Oh, we didn't mention when you're in your power armor, you use intelligence to attack.
Yes.
I think. Yeah, which is obviously...
Oh, do you?
Yeah. Each mod includes a special weapon. So only with this weapon.
Yes.
So the attacks... So your Thunder Gauntlets are your... For the guided mode, are your intelligence weapon. I believe there is an infusion later on, which allows you to use intelligence for everything to do with that. But I'll check. We'll get there together. That's a cool way to have a low strength character who is doing melee stuff without having to invest in two different things and having decent intelligence. That's fun. Presumably, I don't know what the other 5th level things are for Artificer. I imagine
Extra
they
makes
are
perfect sense for this guy because he's a fight, so he fights himself.
This is the Artificer that does the fight.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's fine.
I'm already imagining the Infiltrator you make Raiden.
Oh yeah, that could be cool. Yeah.
Could be very cool if your guy isn't the guy that made the suit. You go
That's
like
true,
a
yeah.
Genos character.
Yeah. If that would be kind of fun to have basically playing two characters. Like the Artificer is not the guy you're playing. He is. That would be, I guess, technically not how it's meant to work. But that'd be fun.
That'd be fun. I'd like that. You have your Dr. Light back at base.
Yeah, I can't really imagine it being better. If anything, it would be slightly worse, I guess, because you wouldn't be able to do things on the fly on your own.
It would be a lot worse, actually.
It would be cool. Anyway.
Armor modifications. Now, this boosts infusions of the Artificers.
Infusions, I think, are mildly confusing.
Well...
once you've read through it a couple times, you understand how it works, but they are not, They're very different to anything else.
A lot of people reading this might not possibly have the Artificer supplement.
Yeah.
So basically, all that infusions are is either a magic item or a magic effect. Think invocations.
Yeah, but say it's kind of similar to invocations. Yeah,
but you can know a lot more than you can have active at once.
Yeah.
So this increasing the number of items that you can infuse at once is really powerful.
Yeah.
Because this basically enables you to have more magic items and more everything.
Yeah.
Because of one of the infusions is magic is own a magic item basically.
Yeah.
And some of the other ones are more damage, more this, more that. It's crazy.
Yeah, and I think for the ones that go onto armor pieces specifically, you can only have one for a suit of armor, which would include everything. And this is your armor now counts as multiple pieces for the purpose of infusions.
Yeah.
So and this. They also have a bunch of new infusions that are specifically for armor, so that is what this is for essentially.
Yeah.
But it is very good, and again, you don't get you get by level 20, you'll have a lot of them, but I think at level 9 you probably only have it's 4 or something active infusions. It might be
yeah, I think so,
less or more, but yeah. So having 2 essentially free ones for your armor is very good, especially as a lot of infusions are very strong, which we'll get to. Anyhow, there's the final level thing for the perfected armor. Oh, this is just a buff to the 2 different types, essentially. Okay, so the Guardian can do a get over here. That's kind of cool.
Feet. And they can do it.
Yeet him over to you.
Pull a 30-foot pull is big. I don't know many things that push or pull 30 feet. That's
short telekinesis.
Yeah, telekinesis and maybe the whirlwinds or the elementals and stuff. I think that's 20 feet.
A melee attack as a reaction. That's nice. Pull him in and bop him. That sounds fun.
And Infiltrator is the one I prefer. You mark targets with your lightning launcher, and then anyone gets advantage against them.
Yeah, I remember that. It's similar to guiding bolt and stuff, I guess.
Yeah, you can make a Tau guy, with his marker lights.
That'd be cool. Yeah. Yeah, and whenever they get hit, they take extra lightning damage if they've been tagged, as it were. So that's cool. Nothing. I wouldn't say either of those two are super super exciting, but they're both nice to have things. They're cool. 15th level, it's fine.
It's in addition to something you have earlier on, so it also
yeah.
And you get both of them. It's not like you've picked.
Yeah. So that's fine and pretty cool. Are there any of the infusions that stand out as being worth
Mind Sharpener?
Mind Sharpener, I think I don't think either they didn't think that through, or it got written wrong.
The thing about Mind Sharpener is it says robes as well, so it's not even it could be just for your spells.
Because infusions you can put onto other people's stuff as well.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
and this is something that's available from level 2 when you first get your infusions. Basically, it means that if you fail a concentration save, you can use your action to succeed. It's not like advantage or anything. It's just, no, I passed that one. And that, like, I can see why on paper that might not sound like being super crazy, because it's your reaction, and reactions can only be used once. So if you're getting attacked multiple times, then you can only do it once. But, like, I can't think of the amount of times that someone's had to make, like, 3 concentration saves in one round. That doesn't happen, really.
Maybe 2 with a multi-attack.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's just really good. It's
good. You couple that with, like, them having Warcaster.
Yeah,
and they have advantage on it, right?
Yeah,
they have advantage on their concentration check. So
you can just keep spells forever.
A scenario where they get hit twice, right?
Yeah.
They roll their first one with advantage and pass it. They roll their second one and fail it, but then they just don't. They use 0 to pass it.
Just don't.
So then it would feel so bad. But then there's the other school of thought, which is like, why can't the players be powerful?
Yeah, that's the thing. I think it's partly solved by just putting it behind a level lock like they have for a lot of them. The fact that that's available from the get-go, I think, is kind of crazy.
And the Armour of Magical Strength I like too, because it's what replaces your Strength of Intelligence. And you get 4 charges of Don't Get Knocked Down.
Oh, yeah. So that I didn't notice that. Yeah, so yeah, you can...
That really fit. That's a nice little extra thing to fit into, like, you being in this hulking suit of armour, potentially.
Yeah,
that's cool.
So that's cool. Armour of Tools, you get integrated tools.
Integrated tool, yeah.
Kind of similar to the old Warforged.
You can add your intelligence modifier to the check as well. If you're efficient, that's going to be a nice little buff to that.
Yeah,
very good with those tools.
You're going to get a lot out of intelligence with this class, which isn't that a thing that people have said before, that intelligence isn't... I know it's probably like the least used stat amongst like the whole class rainbow, as it were. But
I think so. I don't
it's
think
just wizard.
Yeah, it's just wizards really use it a lot,
and
there's not too much, like, there's not too many spells that go against an intelligence save.
Yeah,
it's more wisdom save or con.
Yeah,
or dex.
Well, maybe the psychic ones.
Anyhow, so this class is going to get you a lot out of your intelligence score, which is
good.
Cool and good.
It's good to be smart sometimes.
And the spell of refueling ring gives you basically a mini pearl of power.
Oh, yeah, mini pearl of power, yeah. Which is very
fun.
good.
I like that.
And again, that's tied behind 6th level.
And it requires attunement.
Ah, okay, so that's actually kind of interesting. Oh, and it's in Helm of Awareness as well, getting you initiative advantage, also requires attunement. So that's kind of... I'm sure there's some other infusions, base Eberron infusions, which do require attunement as well. And maybe that would be a way to fix Mind Sharpener. Make that more balanced. Is to say it requires attunement. I think that would be reasonable if it required attunement.
Right.
Yeah,
it doesn't say it needs attunement. Yeah,
exactly. It's Mind Sharpener. I think there's. I think it's a mistake that it's like
because
that.
it's not passive like these other ones are. They're a bit more
Perhaps.
passive.
Yeah, that could be it. We've covered most everything that's in the pages. I quite like Artificer from what I've seen of it. My favourite one is probably still Alchemist. This is cool. I'm generally of the opinion that I don't like, or I'm not interested in them making classes which are like the JoJo monk who has summons a stand. I didn't want that. I was not excited to see that, and I love JoJo, so that was, it felt like pandering. This, I think on the surface is like, oh, it's Iron Man, and you could say it like that, but I don't think it's actually super pandering. I think the most pandering in there to that is having the lightning gem launching thing.
Yeah.
and you know, that's fine, whatever. You wouldn't necessarily use it anyway because it's okay, but it's not like it would become your
go-to
main way of attacking.
No.
Yeah, it'd just be like a useful ranged thing.
It's a bit of utility if you don't, if you haven't got a ranged weapon.
Yeah. So I think that's fine.
I think that the JoJo class doesn't stand on its own.
That's the thing. Yeah.
Stand used unintentionally there.
Very
nice.
Nice.
But it's not nice. I didn't intend to do it.
It's still nice though.
Good. But this one does literally stand on its own 2 feet.
Can't knock it down.
Can't knock it down.
You can't knock this boy down.
If you do, it'll get back up again.
It's sufficiently unique.
Yeah.
From like the other Artificer subclasses and even just from other classes in general, which I think is cool.
It adds something to the game.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I don't think I personally would play this guy,
Mm.
Even though I do think he's really cool. But I think it could be very awesome to have this guy in the party.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that a Warforged who is this guy,
It makes a lot of sense.
Your integrate, it's physically improving your integrated body is basically what it is, and it would be a very cool character.
It kind of makes itself that as well. It's not something that you have to like really fit. Like the thing that I've drawn, you'd have to like finagle a bit and like talk with the DM about like, hey, this is cool, right? Because I think like the Revenant like has flesh and stuff. It's not actually like a skeleton. But
I think you've drawn an NPC. I have drawn
an NPC as usual, and it's very like it's a Terminator as well that I draw. Because again, I want what I was originally when I was trying to draw it. I was like, I wanted to get like. I was trying to think of like how could I incorporate like the fact that it can be worn under clothes and like being like disguised as well. And I tried all sorts of things and none of it worked. So this is why I went to like, oh, what's Renaissance naked guy drawing? But it was. I think that would be that. This would be the way I'd want to play this if I did. Again, I'm not a huge fan of the Eberron setting. I don't know it super well, but it doesn't interest me too much. But this is that's why I was coming at it like trying to think of ways to play it that would be different. And of course, I was thinking about this as I was drawing. I was like, actually, now that I think about it, the scientists of the Renaissance were in a way artificers and magic users. They were getting forbidden knowledge by doing dissections on people. So I think this could even be cool to have in like a setting where like magic is abhorrent to like the masses, and then you're like. Being an artificer would be like being a scientist in a time where doing that was frowned upon.
It could be even just to bring it back to that.
Sure, yeah.
A villain whose entire motivation is science.
Yeah.
And he's driven to acts of villainy because of how religious this universe is.
He's the perfect melding between a man and a machine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. I like it.
This is also like a character that I've been workshopping robot skeleton man for as long as I've lived. Like as a young lad, I don't know if you guys ever played Rayman 2, but Rayman 2, robot pirates were the enemies.
Yep.
And then there was in one of the Ratchet and Clank games, there was a very distinctive line where someone says, "Robotic pirate ghosts," and that stuck with me. So this is the culmination of this. This is why I tried because what I drew wasn't like way worse than what I've done for the other ones, but it was like something I didn't want to like half-ass like a good idea.
Right,
so I get you.
That's where the frustration came from.
Because we did delay this episode a little bit to let Theo
finish the freaking drawing. Yeah, that's more or less done. But yeah, it's
good.
It's
I like
very
it.
different, isn't it?
I like it a lot.
It is different from normal fit. It's very fine, as you're saying. Like, was it a one pixel brush?
Yeah, for most all the details are 1 pixel thick, and then the other one was
cool,
3.
Man.
I think the canvas adds a lot. It looks like it's in a journal. Somebody's like.
It also is like I realised, man, I've not drawn anything that wasn't like D&D for months. Literally for like months, which is fine. I love D&D, but my god, sometimes I want to draw something else. And this doesn't look. If you showed this to most people, they would not go, "Ah, D&D, my favourite. I love Artificer. Can't wait to get stuck in." Intelligence,
my favourite Artificer class right there.
No, it's a Revenant. Oh, it's cool. It's a cool idea. Well, you'd be scared if you saw this fella. You'd also think, "Man, this guy's edgy as hell."
I'd be terrified, and I'm also happy that you got to draw something a little bit different while keeping it themed to D&D, the best thing in the world.
It reminds me of Saren a little bit.
Yeah, he's got a bit of a Saren going on. I think he had that whole spine sticking out thing for a while, didn't he? Yeah,
I like it.
And as well with like someone, because like with Artificer, it's like when we were doing Stone Golem. I think we talked a bit about this for Challenge Race. When you're doing a construct in fantasy, you have to decide: does it have hinges, or does like the material bend?
Yes.
For the magically for the purposes. And I think, to be honest, from the way it's described in here, the fact that you can change the armor in like a short rest and like you touch it and it becomes magic, I think that's more towards magical deconstruction than actual like literal hinges and things.
So I think we have to ask the question: is this an unearthed arcana or a massive fartcana?
I think it's an.
I think it's an unearthed arcana.
I think it's an unearthed arcana too.
I don't want to respond to that because that'll make it seem like we planned on saying that, which would be very deceitful. I think it's good.
That was in the brief that we get for every episode we do.
As someone who I really like, as I say, The Alchemist. I would now consider playing this one perhaps instead, but I still think I prefer Alchemist because it has a random table of all your potions.
So good,
and I love those.
This guy is really cool.
This guy's cool. Maybe he's too cool. Maybe that's the issue. I want my class to have something goofy in it that doesn't always do good things.
He's way past cool.
I want something in there that's dumb.
You want to be a chef, is what you want to be.
Well, that's why one of the infusions lets you make the alchemy jug, so you can get infinite mayonnaise.
I love the alchemy jug.
And then you can have an integrated mayonnaise pipe in your power armor.
A tube that goes from your back into.
You've ruined it. Well done.
Yes, excellent.
This leads to my mayonnaise jug.
We'll be back sometime soon, hopefully within this week, to do the druid, who I like. Spoilers.
Yeah.
And the ranger, who I don't especially like. Spoilers. That might just be because of my predisposition.
I think you just hate rangers.
I just don't like rangers as a class. Yeah. But I don't think this class has convinced me that it's...
I like this guy a lot, actually.
I now don't like rangers because of you.
Haha. Anyway, we'll talk about ranger when we get there. Maybe we'll do ranger next, so I can do the one I like a lot.
Finish on a high note.
Finish on a high note.
So you can go from this one to the low point to the top.
Well, I'm gonna try and draw something. I'm gonna try come at it from an angle that I like. It's not like the bard where I drew something I hated. Not even. It was nothing to do even with
that happy little guy.
And it was nothing to do with it. It's not even the class's fault that I didn't like it. Like the bard, there was only one thing about it that was actually bad, and then I just didn't like the concept, so I drew it as rubbish as possible.
I love that happy little guy.
I am very biased, and I can only apologise for that. Anyways, I think that's good night. Good sleep well. I know I will.